Om Jnanatmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshormilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Vipasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaudati Namaha. Well, yesterday was Guru Purnima, very special day on our calendar. Guru Purnima, the start of Chaturmasya, the appearance day of Srila Vyasadeva, disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami, also the appearance day of Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj. So we have a few days like this in the year when there's like many special things concentrated together. So yesterday was one of those days, and I was thinking it would be appropriate to discuss that. It'd be very nice to discuss that in our meeting today. And so one of the days, one of the significances of this day is, as I mentioned, the appearance day of Vyasadeva. And then Guru in general is seen as representative of Vyasadeva. You know, in the sense that our Guru is transmitting, you know, divine knowledge for our upliftment. And so therefore it is also a day when we can especially appreciate our own Guru. And there were a few occasions when I was in Calcutta with Srila Gurudev on that day, and I don't know if he did this every year, but I think there were like 2 or 3 years when I was with him, and he held a big celebration for the day, and he took it as I'm trying to find some of those talks, because I was looking on the Mott website yesterday. Welcome, Dayavati, Dandavat. I was looking on the Mott website, and there's a few recordings of Srila Gurudev speaking on Guru Purnima, but he's speaking quite generally in all of them, like about Vyasadeva, Chaturmasya, things like that. But on the occasions when it was 2 or 3 occasions when I saw Gurudev lead the program for this, and what I'm remembering now is that he spoke in Bengali, actually, and so for that reason the recordings weren't, you know, publicized. I think Jamuna Priya recorded them. They must be somewhere, but yeah, it's not something that would have been posted for the Western speakers. But what was clear to me is that Gurudev took the occasion as an excuse to worship his Gurudev, and he had a Vyasasan arranged with a large picture of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and we performed Guru Puja to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And there was one year when I observed that, you know, because it's Guru Purnima, so it's a day to worship one's Guru. And so naturally we were all thinking that this was a day in which we would like to offer special worship to Gurudev. So there was like a conflict because Gurudev wanted to offer special worship to his Guru Maharaj. And on this particular occasion that I remember, the devotees had like all the there was a picture of Srila Sridhar Maharaj next to Gurudev. Gurudev was seated, and then next to Gurudev was a large picture of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And then there was a group of devotees with all the paraphernalia to perform worship. Dandavat, Manugopal Prabhu. So the devotees had all this paraphernalia to do Guru puja, and they moved towards Gurudev, like they're about to begin doing puja to Gurudev. And I'll never forget that moment. For the rest of my life, I'll remember Gurudev became angry, and he like very forcefully, he threw his arm to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like you know, I will not, he was feeling this was offensive, you know, that you're coming to worship me, but I want to worship my Guru. And very forcefully and angrily, Dandavats, welcome, Nanda Srupani. Very angrily, he thrust his arm, like, offer your worship there. And so that year, the Guru Puja was performed to Srila Sridhar Maharaj's, offered to Srila Sridhar Maharaj's picture. And I don't know if every year it was like that. On other occasions, he may have simply submitted to what everybody was eager to do. But I remember very clearly on that particular occasion, he would not tolerate it. And it left a very deep impression on me, you know, that, you know, the true disciple never accepts anything for themselves. You know, they never accept any honor, any pratishtha for themselves. And it was just such a clear, very clear example to me. It was just a clear demonstration of who Srila Govinda Maharaj is. You know, that nothing he did was ever motivated by self-gain. You know, nothing. You know, everything he did was a pure offering to his Guru Maharaj. And I was reflecting how, you know, it's in these little moments, these little instances when you really kind of see who somebody is. Because sometimes we can become disappointed, you know, in these little moments, like something slips, you know, like, you know, someone may have like a good kind of cover, a good show, but there will be those moments when something will slip and you see something else, you know. But with Gurudev, it was never like that. It was like 200%, you know, he was, you know, what he said he was, you know, and he did what he believed, and nothing was for his own promotion, self-gain. Everything was for his Guru Maharaj. So that was quite a profound moment for me, something I carry with me. So you know, a day for us to reflect on the glories of our Gurudev, everything that we have received, the wealth of our eternal lives. You know. Srila Sri, there's a beautiful recording, very short, like 11, some of you must have heard that, it's on the Mat website, just 11 minutes, very beautiful recording of Srila Sridhar Maharaj speaking about Vishkaha Devi and how he was the distributor of so many different thoughts, the distributor of so many different conceptions, so many different ideas. And he said that nobody could compete with Vishkaha Devi in terms of the variety of thoughts that he gave to the world in the Hare Krishna, in his presentation within the Vedas, and then in his last days he gave us Srimad Bhagavatam. Dandavad.
Sorry, got late. Journey late. Dandos everyone.
There in Srimad Bhagavatam, he gave us the conception of reality, the beautiful. He gave us something to live for. He gave us the conception of Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. And that is a question. Do you speak Bengali? No, very, very. Wait, is that for me or for Ramananda? I know very, very little. And that history of Vyasadeva is very, very nice to remember, that he presented everything, within the realm of karma, within the realm of gyan, to help persons to elevate themselves within this world, to help others to become free, to become liberated from this world, and also some touch of bhakti, But actually the Vedas, there, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has pointed out, the Vedas, they are mostly pointing towards Brahman conception. We use the word Vedas because it's something people are familiar with, so we say Veda life, and we say Vedic teachings and Vedic cooking and so on and so forth. We use it to give people some type of reference point. But actually, what has been given in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's counter to most of what the Vedas are giving. Mostly the Vedas are pointing towards a very vague conception as to what is the nature of the absolute reality. Mostly Brahman conception, impersonal conception, some Paramatma and some Bhagavan, something Bhagavan. So and why? Because they're catering to people who are living within the relativity of this world, who are very fixed, with a very entrenched with their identity within this world of relativity. And so it's too much of a jump to run to the conception of pure devotion. And so this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these are like the four pillars of the Vedic religion, to do one's duty, to acquire wealth, to acquire sense pleasure, and then finally moksha, to become free from the entanglement of this world. So essentially dealing with the tendency for enjoyment, catering for the tendency for enjoyment in a regulated way, in a somewhat progressive way, and then catering for the tendency for renunciation, the aspiration for liberation. So these are the four principal things that the Vedas are dealing with and advocating. And then Srimad Bhagavatam is presenting the Pancham Purushartha, the fifth goal of life, Krishna Prema, and is starting out by rejecting what was given in the previous Vedic text. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmat sadanam tatam. That in this text, all forms of cheating religion are being rejected. And why are these things pertaining to cheating? Because they are not dealing with the true self, the need and the nature of the true self, but they are rather accommodating and catering to our selfish projection onto the world and spiritual practice. They're catering for persons who would not be motivated to engage in any particular spiritual practice unless they can see where there's some, personal interest being served. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is very radical in that sense, because it is presenting the straight truth, reality as it is, not as you want it to be or as you would like it to be or how it suits you, but as it is. So Dharma projita kaita vocha paramo nirmat saranam satam. Here in this Srimad Bhagavatam, we are rejecting. This is only the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a very bold beginning. We are rejecting all forms of cheating religion. And who will be able to, or religion mixed with self-interest, we can say. And who will be able to appreciate this? Those who are near matsar, those who are free from envy. And this, we can also preface this by saying, by remembering how it is that Vyasadeva came to the conclusion, because, Guru, if we're thinking of Gurudev, he relished telling this so much, how Vyasadeva, he had completed this, vast presentation, the four Puranas, the Itihasas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, the Puranas, the Upanishads, finally Vedanta Sutra. He'd compiled this huge, massive collection. But still, after doing all of that, he was feeling dissatisfied within himself for all of the reasons which we've already discussed. But he didn't have clarity within himself as to what was the way forward and what exactly was missing, because he felt, I have given everything, so what is wrong? And when he was in this state of meditation, then his guru Narada came to him, and Gurudev also used this as an example of how Guru will appear to us, which is very encouraging, that in that moment of need and deep soul searching, when that real necessity has arisen within the heart, then Guru will come in response to that. Gurudev also used this expression, necessity is the mother of invention in relation to this circumstance. When that real necessity comes, then the fulfillment will also come necessarily. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, maybe it's in his Bhagavat speech, he also referenced this meeting of Narada and Vyasadeva, saying how truth will come to us when we earnestly seek it. So anyhow, in response to Vyasadev's, soul searching, then Narada came, he appeared to him and gave him some instruction. He gave him actually some strong chastisements. There's one verse where he uses this word jugupshitam, which means something like an abominable thing. It's very heavy if you think about it. He's saying what Vyasadeva gave in all of the Vedas. This is abominable. In the sense that he hasn't clearly shown what is the gradation. He hasn't clearly shown what is the way forward. He's given many different ideas, but what is the gradation there? What is the ontology amongst all of this? That was not made clear. And also, one of the points Narada made was that, you're Vyasadeva, like you're known as and there's one expression Gurudev used, which I can't really represent it properly, but which meant something like, you're the person who makes religion, you're the religion maker. So you've given all of this in the scriptures, and if anybody tries to say something slightly different, then they won't hear them. Oh, Vyasadeva has said this, Vyasadeva has said this, Vyasadeva has said that. And if anybody tries to in the future, if anybody tries to clarify things more, they will not accept them, because they will say, oh, Vyasadeva didn't say that. So this is a terrible thing that you've done. And as Gurudev would say, you know, what you've given is a kitchery. You've given this hodgepodge of many different ideas all jumbled together. And Gurudev, he also added, and no doubt the conditioned souls, they like kitchery very much. And they will enjoy that very much. You know? But you have not given anything. So you've given something for sick people. In other words, people who are attracted to this world. But what about, so you've given something for sick people, but what about some nourishment for healthy people? What about nourishment for people who genuinely want to live a normal and healthy life? No. In other words, like an awakened soul who wants to begin their positive and progressive spiritual life within the spiritual domain, not that they want to become more involved in this world, or as a reaction to that, become free from this world. No. Those are both symptoms of disease. But what about healthy people who want to move within that positive and progressive spirit? You have not given anything clear for those persons. And so then, so Narada, he gave some verses of chastisement, and then he also gave the Chatur Shloki of Srimad Bhagavatam, indicating Krishna as the absolute supreme central truth. And then with all of this as inspiration, Vyasadeva meditated for some time, and then he presented the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so this verse that we were discussing, this is the Starma Projita Kaitva, this is just the verse. It is a very, very bold, very strong introduction. And then we can also mention in that verse this phrase nirmatsar, you know, as we said, you know, who will be able to appreciate this? Who is nirmatsar, who is free from envy? You know, and this is very important point. This is really like the root of our entanglement in this world. This is one of the most fundamental issues, most fundamental diseases that we all suffer from as conditioned souls in this world. That we, whether we're conscious of it to a greater or lesser degree, we want to be in the center. And we can't tolerate, you know, to some level we're disturbed when others are put in a primary position, beginning with Krishna. You know, Krishna should be in the central position, but we are on one level competing with Krishna because we want to be in the center. So we cannot tolerate that Krishna is the central truth, and then everyone else also, you know, we are disturbed if others are superior to us in one way or another. So this is like our, you know, envy. This is one of our most fundamental diseases within this world. Because the whole culture of Vaishnavism is about appreciation. That, you know, what does kirtan mean? Kirtan means basically appreciation. Kirtan means glorification. To glorify, to praise others. You know, beginning with the Lord and then by extension, the Lord's own. So Vaishnavism, and you know, this is very significant. Vyasadeva has stated this right at the very beginning, you know, of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is the book that gave us Krishna consciousness. You know, and he's starting out here by saying, you can only appreciate this if you're free from envy. So this is very central, to enter into the spirit of appreciation, glorification, praise of Guru, Gauranga, Vaishnava. This is what will, we hear so much from our Gurudev, the importance of avoiding Vaishnava aparad, avoiding the critical, offensive mentality. And that is the most serious offense that is given as the first of the 10 nama-aparads, offenses to the holy name. We're told that is the only thing that can destroy our creeper of devotion, that can cause us to lose everything that we've gained in devotion. So we hear, like, on the negative side, how important it is to avoid criticism of the Vaishnava. But then on the positive side, we can understand how much is to be gained from appreciating, from glorifying, from serving the Vaishnavas. So this culture of praise, appreciation, celebrating the qualities of others, this is very, very central to Vaishnavism. And a few times we heard Gurudev speak on this, several times I heard Gurudev mention it. I think in one of the talks he gave for Guru Purnima, he was discussing it, how it is like, in one place he described it as the first quality of a Vaishnava, he's referred to it as the determining factor of how Vaishnava one is. There's one place, Ajita Krishna, it was his disappearance day maybe it was a week ago or something. He was a very beloved disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And Gurudev, there's a talk of Gurudev glorifying him. And he refers to one of his main qualities as being his lack of enviousness. And there's one place where he's comparing him to another devotee who was also very much appreciated by Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And he was saying, he was also a very nice devotee. But then he said, but I don't know if he was as non-envious as Ajita Krishna. Like Ajita Krishna Brahmachari, he was something more, because he was more free, more free from this spirit of envy. So then there was one talk Gurudev gave as well in Navadvip. Maybe it was like 2006 or something like that. And that talk was just focused specifically on this subject of envy. And there's a few talks I've heard Gurudev give, maybe 2 or 3, where it was clear that he had been thinking about this topic for several days, which is something very, very nice to reflect upon, like how deeply Gurudev cared about the devotees. It was, his life was for that, was for giving nourishment to the devotees. And there were a few occasions when he gave a talk in which it was made clear that he'd been contemplating this subject for a number of days and considering what was the best way to present it, how this could help the devotees. And there was this one talk he gave on envy, which was one of those talks, and he was saying, like, I've been thinking about this for several days, how to present this to devotees. And this was his, he kind of had this, he had this quite grand introduction, like giving an overview of how Srimad Bhagavatam came out, about how the Vedic knowledge appeared within India. And then it was like the whole talk was leading up to this grand finale of this point at the beginning of Bhagavatam about non-enviousness. So that was he wanted to make an impression, and he did, as to what is the importance of this. So yes, that is something for us to reflect upon. And one thing Gurudev would say in regards to envy was that, when we have like the more that our connection with reality, the beautiful, develops, then the less we will be bothered by this tendency for enviousness. Because envy is really just an outcome of being dissatisfied, or feeling a lack within ourselves. But if somebody is fulfilled, if somebody is very wealthy, then they don't feel any need to be envious. So that was one comment that he made, as our own relationship develops with the Lord, with the higher Vaishnavas, and the more that we feel that flow of divinity within our hearts, then the less we will be bothered, by this tendency. And that was something very outstanding in Gurudev. He gave us some glimpse of that. I mean, I can say for myself that was something that helped, that my relationship with Gurudev was something that helped cure envy. Of course, I still suffer from it, but I definitely felt a great improvement in that department as I felt a connection with Gurudev more. And that's only through very, like, how can we say, not like through a very, close relationship, but just in the few moments that we had with Gurudev, everyone who's spent time with our Gurudev, they can testify to that, and in very small exchanges with him, if you could sweep the door outside his room, if you could change the garbage in his bathroom, it was so fulfilling. He had that type of potency about him. And if you got half a smile, that would just make your year. He had that type of potency. So that was something, if I'm just speaking personally, that was something I experienced with him, that as I felt more of a relationship with him and felt more grace coming from him and felt more of a touch with divinity through him, then the less I felt the need to be envious of what others had, what others were getting, because I felt this little thing I'm getting right here is so supremely fulfilling. That is the nature of divine substance. Ek bindu jagat dubai. It is a famous expression in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One drop can drown the whole world. One drop can drown the whole world. So, like, how is it possible? Because somebody may just rationally think, how is it possible? You're all like talking about Krishna, and you're talking about Goloka Vrindavan. How many souls are in Goloka Vrindavan? Trillions. We don't have numbers. It's unlimited. It's an infinite number of souls. How is it possible that everybody's going to be satisfied, in connection with one Krishna? How is it possible? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Like, do the math. It doesn't add up. But we had some experience of that. We got some idea of how that's possible in connection with Srila Govinda Maharaj. Just through the most remote connection, one could feel supremely fulfilled. That is the nature of divine substance. One drop can drown the whole world. What to speak of one person, you know. So when one begins to feel that current, or the more one feels that divine current, then the more fulfilled, satisfied, and whole they will begin to feel. Whereas in this world, it's just the opposite. You know, the more that you have, the more greedy you become, the more dissatisfied you become. It doesn't matter how much you have. If you have $1 million, then you're looking at someone else who has 2 million, who's looking at someone else who has 10 million, who's looking at someone else who has 1 billion, who has another than 2 billion. You know, you're never satisfied. You're just not. You know, never. The more that you have, the more that you want. So then competition, envy, you know, all of these things, they're very, very prominent. Gurudev also referred, well, I think it's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He refers to the first 3 verses of Bhagavatam as the Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan verses of Bhagavatam. Sambandha, giving knowledge of what is what, you know, Prayojan, what is the goal, and Abhideya, what is the path to reach the goal. And so the first verse, Janmad Yasya Yatha, is a description of Krishna, the supreme absolute truth. So this is giving some idea of Sambandha Gyan, understanding that Krishna is all in all. And then the third verse is describing the supreme gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, which, you know, Krishna Prema, Nigama Kalpatrur Galitam Phalam Shuka Mukadamita Java Samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Sam Alayam Ahorasika Bhuvi Babuka. It compares Bhagavatam to this. Dandavat, welcome. Compares Bhagavatam to a fruit, to a wonderful sweet fruit, which does not have any peel, doesn't have any seed. You know, if we think of the most delicious mango fruit in mango season in India, without the awkwardness of the peel and the seed, something like that. So the gift of Bhagavatam is compared to this wonderful fruit, and the Vedas, they are compared to a wish-fulfilling tree, which can give the fruits. Which can fulfill the aspirations for dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, for, you know, piety or duty, leading to wealth and kama, enjoyment, and ultimately moksha. So the Vedas, they're mostly dealing with these things, so they're compared to a wish-fulfilling tree that can fulfill these aspirations. And then the Vedanta Sutra, which was Vedavyas's penultimate work, can be compared. It's not mentioned in the verse, but in the commentaries by our acharyas, the Vedanta is compared to a flower. You know, like if you take a mango tree, since we're talking about mangoes, then before the fruit comes, there's a flower, and then the fruit comes from the flower. So the Vedanta is compared to this flower. Vedanta, and also the Upanishads, we can say, somewhat more developed because they're dealing with purely spiritual teachings. It is simply that they are abstract, but they've left the mortal plane. They're dealing with pure spirit, so they are more developed. But then Bhagavatam is then the fruit on that tree. That is giving rasa. That is giving a satisfaction of the heart. So the Vedanta is giving satisfaction of consciousness, the plane of consciousness, but ultimately we need satisfaction of the heart. Our real fulfillment, our real end is to be found there. There's that very nice introduction to Search for Sri Krishna, where Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's saying, you know, Vedanta begins with this phrase, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. You know, now search after spirits. You know, now you finished with your endeavors within the plane of karma. Now come to a more subtle plane, come to the plane of knowledge, of consciousness. So Vedanta is starting out with this, like, now begin your search for spirits. Now you're done with all of that. Come to a higher plane. But then Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he points out, but Srimad Bhagavatam has replaced that. What is Brahma? What is dry spirit? You know, Tato Rasa Jigyasa. Now search after rasa. Now search after ecstasy, after joy, after satisfaction of the heart. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he points out there, you know, that Bhagavatam has replaced that search for dry spirit with the search for ecstasy, for heart, for love. And so that is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And so Nidama Kalpatur Galitam Phalam, a very ripe, sweet fruit. And you know, so you have a mango tree. What is the purpose? What is the real purpose of a mango tree? To give a mango. The mango tree is not fulfilled until it gives a mango. Then the existence, the purpose of that tree has become meaningful, has been realized. So in the same way, what is the purpose of this tree of the Vedas, this wish-fulfilling tree of the Vedas? It is to produce a fruit, this wonderful fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he actually wrote, let me see if I can find it. I should have it right here. These actually, we have to thank Jaggi Maharaj for this. He found these relatively recently, maybe it was last year sometime. These verses, some of you have heard of this text that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was planning to write, taking the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he made a summary of 1,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then the most essential verses of Bhagavatam. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj had the inspiration to condense it further to 300.
Bhagavata Arka Marichi Mala.
Yes, that's right. Bhagavad Marichi Mala. Exactly, yes. So that was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book. Like 1,000 of the rays, because Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to this like brilliant sun. There's one verse in Bhagavatam where Bhagavatam is compared to this brilliant sun that's arising in the dark age of Kali Yuga. And with all of these, is it 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam? 18,000 verses. So like this sun, this brilliant sun with 18,000 rays is illuminating in this darkness, in this dark age of Kali Yuga. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he distilled this, you know, to 1,000 of those rays. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj had the inspiration to condense it further to 300. And unfortunately, it was not something he ever was ever able to complete. And he said the only person who could complete it was Srila Govinda Maharaj. But Srila Govinda Maharaj, our Gurudev, was too busy taking care of his children that he never had the time. Taking care of us, I mean, by his children and all of our baby problems. So he never had the time. As he said once, now I've become a businessman, like you know, dealing with so much management. You know, there was one time he was discussing it. how he'd like to do it, to finish it. But he's saying, now I've become a businessman, dealing with so many management affairs. And there's a whole chapter of Gurudev's Leela, which was unmanifest. There were many things that he wanted to do, but he didn't have the right person who he could hand everything over to. So he was like almost up to the end, he was still dealing with many things that somebody else should have really been doing. Like in the way that Srila Sridhar Maharaj could hand everything over to Srila Govinda Maharaj. Gurudev needed another, as he himself expressed once, like, I don't have a Govinda Maharaj. Like, he said that himself, I don't have that person who I can hand everything over to. But anyhow, that is also Leela, the fact that Leela didn't come out. He wanted to retire to Govardhan and write and compose poetry, finish this work of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. There were many things he wanted to do. But anyhow, so Srila Sridhar Maharaj conceived of this work, and he wrote, and so as we said, unfortunately that work never was completed. However, there are some introductory verses that Srila Sridhar Maharaj wrote, like as part of an introduction, a preface to the work, his own original verses. And there's two of them which are fairly well known amongst the devotees. There's the extraordinary Pranam mantra to Gadadhar Pandit. And these two we can add are two of the most extraordinary verses anybody could ever have the fortune to hear. The extraordinary verse of which we discussed this a few weeks ago, the Gadadhar Pranam. So that's one of them. And then there's another one, which I think we might have discussed last week, the verse which is glorifying Srimati Radharani, and how she is, sorry, 1 second. How she is being glorified in every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam. So those two are quite well known. I don't know if there's any others which are also well known. I think those might be the only two. But then recently, I think it was like maybe a year or two ago, Tyagi Maharaj came across, I believe in one of the old, it was originally published in Gaudiya Darshan, 1961. Tyagi Maharaj was going through these old Bengali magazines, and he came across another two verses, which were also meant to be a part of that introduction to this work, and we can hear that now. These are published on Prema Dharma. Vedartha Sputavag Bhagavata Suviditam Yadvaya Jnana Tattvam Yanindra Brahma Yogeshwara Gana Paramatmapi Yajjotiramsa Bhakto Ger Archamano Vilasati Paravyomni Narayano Ya Sanjanandaika Kandam Nikila Rasa Sudadama Krishnam Bhajami. He is renowned in Srimad Bhagavatam, the fully manifest expression of the message of the Vedas as the absolute truth. His effulgence is the Brahma sought after by the masters of knowledge. His expansion is the super soul sought after by the masters of yoga. And he plays in the spiritual sky as Narayan, worshipped by multitudes of devotees. I serve him, Sri Krishna, the sole source of the highest joy, the abode of the nectar of all rasas. And this is so nice. Srila Sridhar Maharaj here, he's perfectly placing, where is Krishna in relation to all of these other manifestations of the Absolute, which are described throughout the Vedas. As we also find so nicely in Brahma Samhita. So what is this great Brahman, which so many are glorifying, so many are aspiring to approach? That is his effulgence. What is that Paramatma, that super soul? So many are going through so much trouble to have some glimpse of. That is an expansion of an expansion. What is that Narayan? That is one of his forms within Vaikuntha. But that Krishna, he is the source, he is the origin, and he is the abode of all rasa. And then this is the second one. This is the one I was particularly thinking of. Vedo va dharma shastro bhajati vifalatam yopi tantra purano yadyavir bhava urvyam nabhavati sarito bhagavatya sudaya yo rindaranya lidarasa parama chamatkara murtim prakashya acha dat sarva shastre charama safalatam nomitam grantarajam. If the stream of the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam had not appeared on the earth, then the Vedas, Tantras, Puranas, and other religious scriptures would be useless. I bow to the King of Scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, which gave the ultimate fulfillment of all the scriptures by revealing the supremely wonderful embodiment of the rasas, of the pastimes of Vrindavan, Sri Krishna. So this, is related to this third verse of Bhagavatam, which we were discussing, that Bhagavatam fulfilled the purpose of the whole of the Vedic teachings. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying here very boldly, without Bhagavatam, they will all be useless. So we were discussing this Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan. So the first verse giving conception of Sambandha Gyam, Krishna, the absolute truth. Third verse giving Prayojan Tattva, Prema Bhakti, Rasa. This is the ultimate ideal, the ultimate goal of life. And then the second verse, which we were discussing in the beginning, is giving Abhideya. How can you get that? What is the path? What is the way? And so there were two particular points mentioned in this verse. The first is this point about envy, being free from envy, or on the positive side, entering into the culture of appreciation. Only such persons will be able to substantially take this up in their lives. And then another point is made in that verse, Dharma projita kaitavocha paramo nirmat saranam satam vedyam vastavam acha vastu shivadam tak chayan mulanam. Srimad, I can't remember the second part of the verse, but there's this one particular word there, Sushushubis. Okay, thank you. Jayadev Prabhu, always very helpful with these things. Dharma Proji, okay, don't worry. But
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite, that one?
Yes.
Yes, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parayar Ishvaraha. Oh, no diacritics. It's a Kindle from a third part, anyways. Sadyo Hridyavarudyate Prakritibhi Susrushibhis Tat Kshanat, I think. No diacritics.
Yes, it's annoying when they do that.
So
I have that in my I have it on this phone, but I don't have it on here with diacritics. Anyways, yeah.
So there's this one word there which Gurudev picked out. It's a difficult word to pronounce. Shushushubis.
Shushushubis.
Which it means something like hearing, but not just a passive hearing. Hearing with hearing as a cultivation. Hearing as an active cultivation, as a culture. And so in other words, it means the service tendency. So it says there that one who will hear, in other words, one who will hear the message of this Srimad Bhagavatam with this mood of service and active cultivation, then that supreme truth, it will immediately manifest within one's heart. And so Gurudev pointed this out as indicating the abhideya tattva. You know, what is the practice? What is the way? What is the path? And so this spirit of non-enviousness, or this spirit of appreciation, and this spirit of dedication, service, self-giving, you know, this is how we can hope to achieve, to attain, to realize that highest reality. Very, very nice verse. It also mentions there's this phrase, top child, and all of these verses, they're like, you know, I'm just giving very, very cursory, you know, overview, but like that, the first verse I find particularly difficult to understand. But we've heard Srila Saraswati Thakur, he once spent a month discussing that verse. Every day for a month, he just talked about that, the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's so many layers of meaning there. But anyhow, and another interesting phrase in that second verse is tap chayon mulanam. Tapa chai refers to the threefold miseries of material existence, which many are familiar with: adhyatmic, adhidaivik, adhibautic, the suffering that comes from within our own selves, suffering that comes from others, and suffering that comes from the elements or from the devas. So this phrase, tap chai unmulanam, unmul refers to uprooting, to taking something up from the root. You know, there are many problems in this world, and generally we have superficial solutions. You know, like if you have some weeds that are growing in your garden, and you just cut them from the top, they're just going to grow back again because the roots are still there. So in the same way, we experience different types of suffering in this world, and our solutions to those sufferings, they create further suffering. They create different kinds of suffering, or they just they offer a temporary cessation of suffering. So within the realm of karma and jnana, there is no real solution. But here, Vyasadeva is saying, this Srimad Bhagavatam is taking these things up from the very root. Why? Because what is the root cause of suffering? It is selfishness. It is our self-centered projection upon the environment, rather than connecting with the universal flow, rather than connecting with the flow of bhakti, of devotion, which is moving towards the center, moving in accordance with the Lord's interest. Instead of moving with that, we are projecting something artificial upon the environment and inviting so many negative reactions as a result. So this culture of devotion, this culture of Krishna consciousness, Krishna Smriti, you know, this will uproot all of worldly suffering, take it up from the very root, not just dealing with the symptoms of something, but dealing with the real cause. So that is another very nice point made in that verse. And also disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami yesterday, who is our Sambandha Charja. You know, we're at the moment, actually, we're going through Sanatana Shiksha in our reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu, he gave instruction to Rupa and to Sanatana, and mostly gave instruction to Sanatana pertaining to Sambandha Gyan, understanding the nature of reality. What are Krishna's opulences, and how do we fit into everything? So Sanatan is known as our Sambandha, Acharya. And we hear on that day when he left, it's also, you know, the start of Chaturmasya. So, you know, it's a big day, and we hear that on that day, all the men in Vrindavan, they shave their heads. You know, something that normally persons would do for their father. You know, all of the Braja Basis, they did that in honor of Sanatan Goswami. He had something of a unique place in the hearts of the Brajabasis, we hear, because normally someone in the position of Sanatan Goswami, like you know, he wasn't a sannyasi, but living as a renunciate, you know, living as a Babaji, normally someone in that position, they wouldn't become so involved within the daily lives of householders, and normally it's something that's discouraged, you know. But Sanatan Goswami was quite unique in that he did become involved, and you know, like sometimes we hear like marriage issues, you know, like things like this, you know, they would come to him and for advice, for guidance, and so he had a very you know, unique place in Vrindavan and in the hearts of the residents there. I'm trying to remember, there was a particular name which they used to call him. I can't remember, but something like father, something like that, you know. He had a very, very beloved place in the hearts of the people, the devotees there. I'm trying to remember, I heard something from Madhusudan Maharaj. I think something like they took his body around Govardhan Hill, something like that, on that day of his disappearance. But anyhow, yeah, very, very happy to remember the pastimes of Sanatan Goswami. We're just, you know, as I said, we're going through this whole section now in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Begins with the harrowing description of his escape from prison and reaching the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. One pastime that Gurudev particularly liked to tell of Sanatan Goswami, which highlights the purity of what Mahaprabhu is giving. Like what, when we say pure devotion, what does it mean? You know, this highlights that. There's and no doubt many of you are very familiar already with that incident, but there was one we can remember again. There was one occasion when Rupa Goswami, he is the head of our sampradaya. You know, we say we're in the Rupa Nuga sampradaya, but at the same time, Rupa Goswami saw Sanatan as his guru. Sanatan was his elder brother. I believe he'd also received Diksha from Sanatan. So Rupa revered Sanatan as his elder brother. And so there was one occasion when Rupa Goswami, he had some desire to make some special offering. In particular, some very nice sweet rice, it is mentioned. He wanted to offer to Sanatan. And then the following day, very mysteriously, there was a very beautiful young lady who came and delivered these first-class ingredients to Rupa. And Rupa Goswami very happily received that and thought, oh, today I'm going to make a very nice feast, very nice preparations for my guru, for Sanatan. And so he went and told Sanatan, please come for lunch to my place. You know, maybe that was a cave, maybe that was under a tree. they would move around, but always extremely simple. So anyhow, Rupa Goswami prepared all of these things, and then Sanatan came and he was tasting this prasadam, and he was very surprised because he thought, like, where did my brother get such fine ingredients? You know, where did it come from? And so he asked Rupa Goswami, you know, where did you get these ingredients? And he said, oh, well, this morning there was this very beautiful young lady who came and supplied all of these things perfectly. And Sanatana Goswami was quite puzzled by this. He asked for like a detailed description of what this girl looked like. And as we said, Sanatan, he had a very particular relationship with the Brajabasi. So he knew everybody. And he felt, oh, and also she came from Javat, which was where Srimati Radharani had lived. And so with her husband, I believe. She was born in Varshana, but then she lived in Javat, I think it was, with her husband, Abhimanyu. So Sanatan, he was puzzled by this. And he didn't let it go. And he actually went to the place where the girl had said she was from, which I believe was Javat, and tried to get to the bottom of this, to find out exactly who this was. And he came to the conclusion that it was Srimati, because he couldn't find this girl, this mysterious girl. And so he came to the conclusion that Srimati Radharani herself had personally come and supplied these ingredients for his pleasure. And so what was Sanatan's response? Did he say, oh, that's so wonderful? The opposite. He was horrified. He was horrified because he felt, Dandavat Rukmini, welcome. He felt that he became very upset, because he felt, and he expressed to Rupa, my whole life is for the purpose of, I'm spending every drop of my existence for the purpose of trying to give some small satisfaction to her. And now she has come and rendered some service to me. And he was very, very disturbed, very upset. It is shocking, it is such a high level of devotion. It's so high. It is so high. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and we will very carefully express such things, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he compared, who is Madhavendra Puri? Madhavendra Puri is almost like the head of our sampradaya. The Mahaprabhu's gift of divine love, it first manifests in the heart of Madhavendra Puri. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he makes this comparison of how Madhavendra Puri, he received this prasadam especially from the Lord. And he compares that and saying, in Sanatan, we're finding something even higher than that, where Sanatan is highly disturbed because he's received something that has come directly from Srimati Radharani. The conception that Radharani has personally gone to some trouble on his behalf, it is intolerable for him. So, what can we do with this? All we can do is hear this, like in our lives here and now. It doesn't have any bearing, But it's showing us, like, what is the benchmark? Like, what is this line of our gurus? Like how high, how pure is the aspiration here? It's so high, so pure, is inconceivable from where we are right now. And also not something that we'll imitate. But we can only bow our heads at the feet of such an exalted devotee. So Sanatana Goswami. And also Chaturmasya. It's not something that we follow. We're running out of time. I'll just quickly finish up here. Chaturmasya is not something that we observe with such great importance in our mat. Gurudev has said it's something that was more for traditionally in Vedic India. It was something that sannyasis were expected to strictly follow. It coincides with the period of the rainy season in India. So the idea is that sannyasis, they're not allowed to stay in one place. They're always on the move. But during this period of the rainy season, there's some dispensation for them to stay in one place. And then in that time, they're expected to observe more strict austerities. And there are many things. The things that we hear about the most are particular food restrictions. I think for the first month it might be shock, maybe the spinach preparation that we don't take. And then there 1 month is yogurt. I think another month is milk. And I don't know if anyone else can remember.
It goes spinach, milk, yogurt, and then urd dal.
Okay, spinach, milk, yogurt, urd dal. Okay. So yeah, those are like the main things that we hear mentioned. Otherwise, I saw in the mod, it wasn't something that was made a big deal of. There's also a recording of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where someone from ISKCON is visiting, and they're there during the period of Chaturmasya. And they ask Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I've noticed that here in the mat, you're not observing all these Chaturmasya rules very strictly. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he responded saying that yes, actually all of these things, they are superficial. And he quoted a verse of Prahlad Maharaj, where he says, Swatmarpanam, self-giving. This is the real essence of the Vedic instruction, self-giving. All of these regulations, they are to help us come towards, to enter into the spirit of self-giving, sacrifice, service. So in other words, if someone has already reached that point of where they're, what Srimad Bhagavatam is giving, what is Krishna consciousness, that I am for that, everything I'm doing is for that higher cause. If one is already living on that platform where they're trying to do everything in the interest of the Lord, then so many other rulings, they become secondary. They're no longer so important. So that was his answer there. And also, Gurudev also mentioned how so it was Saraswati Thakur, I believe. He said like if you're growing something in the garden, you have a garden, then you won't restrict what's coming, So you won't let your spinach rot away because you're trying to strictly follow Chaturmasya. So if your garden is supplying, then you can offer and continue with everything, taking prasad. And also Gurudev mentioned what comes through collection. That in many of our temples, we get some free bhoga, free collection. Shopkeepers, they'll give free vegetables. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I think it was Srila Sridhar Maharaj's comment that what comes through the collection that is nirgun, that is pure, doesn't have any touch of the material plane. So that also, you won't restrict that. I believe Gurudev also said that he made some comment how, like, at least follow the first few days. he would do that sometimes. We would do that in Kartik. So then Kartik, so Chaturmasya literally means 4 months, right? And so the conclusion of that is the final month of Kartik. And then that is a month, because that month is related, that's like around October, November time. Then that month of Chaturmasya we do observe with greater attention, because it's connected with Srimati Radharani. It is considered her month. And so we would give more attention to that. But we, in the Math, it would be like for the first 3 days that we would follow stricter austerities. Gurudev didn't impose it on everyone for the full month. So that dispensation is also there. Okay, well, I think I'm running late, so I'll maybe stop there. Does anyone want to add anything or ask anything or suggest anything for next week?
I have a suggestion.
Okay, great.
I'm kind of wondering, because we had a class with Jai Ram Prabhu and kind of talking about faith and surrender and then bhakti. And I'm kind of wondering what the relationship is between faith, surrender, and bhakti. They seem to be, maybe faith comes first, then surrender, then bhakti. Or it seems like bhakti and surrender are kind of almost synonymous at times. So, I don't know, I kind of like...
Sounds good.
Oh, you mean for next week's discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice, yeah. Okay, so faith, surrender, bhakti. Faith,
Yeah.
surrender, and bhakti.
What's the relationship between them?
Okay, cool, yeah. That's a nice topic, yeah. Okay, cool.
Also, I'd like to mention, because I did a video of Sri Sridhar Maharaj, and he talks about this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in particular the Nirmatsara. He speaks about that in particular. And you know how sometimes he likes to challenge the devotees? And in this mood, he was saying to the devotees, if you see that somebody is getting the mercy of the Lord and you are getting none, and you think that person doesn't deserve the mercy of the Lord, will you be able to tolerate that? Someone is getting all the mercy of the Lord and you are getting none.
Yeah, I heard that too. And he also said, if this is the same place, he also said that if you cannot tolerate that, then he says your name, he said you cannot be considered a Sharanagata, and that your name will be struck from the register. If you cannot tolerate that somebody else is getting mercy, your name will be struck from the register. Very heavy. Okay.
I wanted to ask, is there any way I can get the recording of this?
Yeah, I didn't put last week's on yet, but yes, I will make a very strong attempt to put this one on soon. It goes on Bhakti Connect Facebook page. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, Bhakti Connect YouTube channel. And there's a playlist of all her classes.
Thank you.
No, wait. I think did you mean Srila Sridhar Maharaj's talk?
No, I meant this recording of this, what we did tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. I want to show Arthur as well.
Oh, we miss Ananda.
Yeah, he's working always nights, so that's
Okay. Well, so wonderful to see all of you. and wishing you all the best in these very uncertain times.
No.
And look forward to next week.
Jai Vishkaha Devi Dasi ki.
Jai.
Bye.
Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bimala, Dandavad. You've been there.
I don't have the emails yet, so I just listening. Jai, Dandavad, thank you so very much. Jai Gurudeva, Jai devotee.
But Bimala, today we're not having your darshan. No video.
I don't know how to put the video. I put it last time and there was no sound, so I just put the sound because I didn't want to risk not to be able to hear. I have to see how, when I do the video, the sound is also there. I still wasn't able to get that together.
Maybe
but I'm listening.
help you.
I'm listening and taking notes. So Jai Gurudeva, Jai to all the devotees.
Jai, Bimala Didi ki jai.
Jai, Jai, Vishakha Didi ki jai.
Jai Gurudeva.